Hello, and welcome to the Legal Talk podcast by LexisNexis. I'm Katherine Llewellyn, and I'm the Executive Director for Practical Guidance in Australia. I'm delighted to be joined today by Belle Jing. Belle is a partner in the corporate group at Marque Lawyers. In keeping with Marque's mantra that law could be done differently, but just as good, Belle is an advocate of using AI to improve not only the client experience, but also the employee experience. Today, she joins me to discuss how generative AI is or has the potential to disrupt legal workflows. Welcome, Belle.
Thank you, Katherine.
So whilst there's little doubt that 2023 was the year that AI took the world by storm, 2024 is set to be the year that many organisations move from that posture of listen and learn into one of action. So diving straight into it, Belle, how do you see AI being implemented within the law firm environment, both now and looking to the future?
Katherine, I think that AI can be a game changer for lawyers because being a lawyer involves all sorts of different tasks, but what they have in common is that they all take up a lot of time and brain power. Sometimes we have to go through a ton of information, and other times we're doing the same things over and over again. And then there's all the big picture strategizing that's involved. So that's where AI comes in handy. It's like having a super smart assistant that can crunch through data, make predictions, and help us make decisions and generate deliverables that are specific to the audience. And it all does this way faster than we could by ourselves without sacrificing quality. So if we dive into some of the specifics, there are lots of different types of AI. Some learn by themselves using algorithms, others need input from humans. And in the legal field, I think the most advanced AI products that are available to us at the moment are natural language processing tools, which is like ChatGPT, but for lawyers. And it helps us do legal research faster and more accurately by understanding how we think and speak, and then sifting through seas of data to find, hopefully, what we really need. And the next and more exciting part of AI technology, in my view, is probably machine learning. It's like teaching computers to learn on their own without us telling them what to do. And it could really revolutionize the analytical aspects of legal practice. But for that to work in law, we really need good data. If the data is bad, then the results will be too. And I think that will be the key hurdle to widespread uptake. I also wanted to make a quick mention of expert systems, which is another type of AIs. And these are programs that mimic human decision making by following a set of rules to solve particular problems. Right now, they're pretty limited and need a lot of human involvement to determine what data to process, what rules to apply, and then what decisions will flow. So in time, though, I think it could really transform how we generate legal advice, especially when combined with the other AI technologies as they mature, like the natural language processing and the machine learning.
That's fantastic, and a really good overview there of the different types of technologies that are available and how they may be applied. And interesting that you pulled out that the importance of data. I think you mentioned that a couple of times, and I think that's one of the things that law firms and anybody, in fact, that wants to make full use of the possibilities of these new technologies is really ensuring that their data is ready. And in the correct format and appropriate for use, as you say, kind of rubbish in, rubbish out.
Yes, exactly.
So picking up on those use cases, are there any particular areas of legal practice that you think are more likely to be impacted by AI, or perhaps to put it another way, which areas of legal practice or tasks that lawyers perform lend themselves better to the application of AI?
So I did a bit of a survey of this at Marque, and this is what our lawyers had to say. So legal research was the first to spring to mind because it pervades all areas of law. So AI can potentially be a huge help with legal research if instead of relying on humans to input search terms that hopefully will match the language that the courts or the legislatures have used, if the AI can understand human thinking in a way that predicts what kind of outcomes we're after, I think that is where it will be particularly valuable. So not just sifting through tons of material, actually getting to the core of what it is that we're after. Litigation and corporate are probably the most obvious areas of law outside of sort of legal research where AI can seriously speed things up. So there's some new tools out there that claim that they can handle tasks like discovery and due diligence, preparing chronologies, even improving the wording of documents based on what the court authorities say, and sometimes preparing legal documents such as briefs to counsel, motions, advices, and the like. So imagine the time that we could save with that and how it could move us as a profession towards the work-life balance that we are all after. So one of my partners joked the other day that when she saw the chronology function of one of the new tools out there, she said, look, I will give a kidney right now for that tool. So that gives you a sense of how much impact AI technologies can have for law firms now and into the future.
And that's a really interesting point, isn't it? A lot of people talk about, the efficiencies and kind of, the impact that would have on business and your business model, but actually thinking about the time we have. And I know that we've been speaking late into the night about this podcast, for example, and actually the efficiencies that this technology can bring actually having that impact on your work-life balance and giving you more time to actually, not to do the lawyering and kind of enjoy your life is I think something that's often lost in these conversations.
Exactly. And I think at Marque in particular, and I'm sure broadly throughout the profession as well, that work-life balance is constantly, an aspiration, if you like. And I think AI, if we implement it into our work processes, could really help us get there.
I look forward to that. Sorry, I think I interrupted your flow there, Belle.
No. Look, I also just wanted to mention that AI just isn't all for the legal stuff. It can help in other areas like, budgeting or recruitment, employee training, even like marketing initiatives. I know that at Marque we've been exploring different, social media functions. And I think the possibilities for using AI in law firms is huge if you take that aspect of it into the equation as well.
Yes, absolutely. Not just about legal workflows, but also kind of broader, kind of more business functions. Absolutely.
That's right.
And potentially some of the more generic solutions will be helpful there.
Yes.
In terms of kind of thinking kind of back to AI and specifically for use within the legal context and the legal workflow, are there any established best practices for using AI for legal work yet?
Look, I think it's still pretty early to say what best practice might look like, but I think there's certainly some precautions that lawyers should be taking to make sure that they're using AI responsibly. One big thing is making sure that the data that AI is using is reliable, as we were talking about before. So there have been cases in the US now where lawyers have relied on AI for research and ended up citing cases that didn't exist, and then they got into trouble for misleading the court. So at the end of the day, I think lawyers need to be mindful that they are ultimately accountable for the advice that they give and the documents that they create, even if they blame it on AI. So lawyers, I think, have to hold themselves to the same high standard of care that they've always been held to, no matter what. And then I guess there's also the legal issues that AI generated content actually brings up, like who owns the copyright for the content that AI has created. It's been quite a big debate lately, especially when AI has access to the proprietary information without permission. So as lawyers, I think we've got to be incredibly careful about how we use AI, keep an eye on these concerns and think about how the courts might deal with them in the future.
Yes, and that's so important, isn't it? The kind of the IP and making sure that your IP and your firm's IP is protected as part of that. And I think that's the IP issues are something I've not seen so much discussion around yet. I think, but definitely will come to the fore.
Yeah, I think Michael Bradley, our managing partner, discussed this issue in another forum, and we can, talk about that in more detail at another time. But it is certainly something that is very, very hot, if you like, in the IP space, and certainly our IP lawyers are well across that conversation.
So you were talking a lot there about kind of that human oversight and making sure that everybody is mindful of the fact that we are still lawyers and we still have to be holding ourselves to those very high standards and applying kind of our legal skills even with the use of AI. And so that's, I think, a really nice segue into thinking about kind of the skills that will be required from lawyers when they are engaging with these tools, potentially more and more looking to the future. So how do you see the role of lawyers evolving as AI technology is adopted in the legal space? And are there any skills that you think lawyers should be focusing on developing now in preparation for that?
Look, I think no matter how much AI we bring into the legal field, we're still in a business where understanding and connecting with others, whether they be our clients or our colleagues, is key. Even if AI can act super smart, we humans are still best placed to understand each other. That's why things like communication skills, interpersonal skills, collaboration, negotiation, it will be just as important, if not more important, for lawyers in the future, as that's what will differentiate us. When it comes to substantive law, I have to say that we need to keep honing those critical thinking and problem-solving skills and the ability to make good judgment calls. So I was playing around the other day with the image generator version of ChatGPT called DALL-E, and it was really obvious to me that the results you get are highly dependent on the quality of the instructions you put in. So it just showed to me that AI does not replace human intelligence. It simply enhances it. But to achieve the excellent results that you're after, your ideas and the way you express them still have to be excellent as well. And so that goes back to all the soft skills that we're talking about before.
Yes, absolutely. I think that communication, whether that be to our clients and making sure that we're the human input there is of course invaluable, but also communication in the form of communicating with machines. So you were talking about the instructions that you provide to DALL-E being really critical to, the better the instructions, the better the outputs, right?
That's right.
So that prompt engineering and kind of understanding what style of prompts and how best to prompt and interact with the machines for the best outcome. And I think kind of those technical skills combined with that critical thinking and that ability to I think to decipher become actually even more important, looking at the future and looking at being able to, as you say, detect and make that judgment about whether the output of generative AI or one of these technologies is what you need, what the customer and what the client needs ultimately.
Yeah, that's right. I think, in some ways I approach AI as a junior lawyer or a lawyer in training. It is something you have to train. The more practice you have with it, the more interactions, it is there to help you and to enhance the whole experience. You almost incorporating it into your team. And I think if you approach it that way, there will always be a role for human lawyers, and it will just be made all that much better because of the clear benefits of having technology on your side. And that's where sort of AI becomes a focal point.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, kind of teaching it as a treating it as a junior lawyer, bringing a junior lawyer into your team and training them up. One of our product leads here at LexisNexis was describing an AI tool the other day as basically we are working with a toddler can be a little bit temperamental, but you really do see their development and their learning accelerating rapidly. So that's a nice little analogy there, I think, in how we interact with these models and what we can expect from them, and kind of what kind of time and attention you need to put into them in order to get what you want out of them.
Yes, exactly. I couldn't agree more.
And talking, I suppose, about what you want to get out of AI and the technologies that you're adopting. I just wanted to touch a little bit on defining success and how we go about doing that within that law firm context. So, Belle, as a partner in a law firm, when you and your partners are considering investment in new technologies, including AI, what is it that you're looking for, and what are your kind of success criteria?
My top priorities would be quality, and how easy it is to get my hands on the product. So quality matters most because, let's face it, if the results aren't up to scratch, then what's the whole point? Then, of course, there's the whole cost and the user friendliness angle. So at Marque, we're all about sort of pricing on value and not billing by the hour. So we see ourselves very well placed to adopt AI technology because being efficient won't affect our revenue. It just frees up more time to do more for our clients and for ourselves at the same time. So it's a real win-win for us.
Oh, that's fantastic. I know that debate around the billable hour and whether AI, is basically spelling the end of that. I had an interesting conversation the other day with someone who was in an alternative law firm, and their model was selling products rather than services, and all kind of fixed fee type work, and the view there, and they were joined on a panel by an in-house customer, and the view there was that actually more and more law firms will have to adopt that model. And that those that are already kind of working to that model, those kind of more forward-thinking models, perhaps you might say, are actually really well placed because they already understand value-based billing and how to maximize the value of the work that they're outputting, rather than it just being about we charge based on the hours that have got into it. An increasing realization that hours doesn't necessarily equal or meet client expectations all the time.
Yeah. Look, I think in the 15 years that Marque has been in existence, that's certainly the experience that we've seen. It certainly underlies sort of our philosophy. And I think, new technologies only allow us to, I guess, further that mission, to focus on the client outcome, the delivery, and not so much on time per se. Because at the end of the day, that is not what clients are paying us for. They're paying us for the quality of our advice. And if we are able to deliver that more efficiently, more accurately, with the help of technology, then I think, I think that is what clients will value the most at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's a really important point that you raised there, Belle. I think there's a lot of talk in the industry about kind of what AI technologies can do or can't do, but I think fundamentally there's efficiencies. It's allowing lawyers to do what they went to law school to do. Certainly from my experience in practice, so much of the actual the day-to-day work is not actually that really value-added stuff that clients want. And of course, clients are becoming increasingly sophisticated and want their legal teams, external legal teams, to act more as a business partner,
Yes.
and be providing that commercial view as well. So I think that point you make around kind of concentrating on the value to customers and your clients is really key there.
Yes.
And one of the other points that you raised, I think is interesting to just circle back on, is that accessibility point. You need it to be easy to use and be able to be picked up by anybody in the firm without extensive training. And I think kind of from my experience, and I suppose our mantra here at Lexis, when we're thinking about kind of product development and content development, it's really about starting with, well, what is the problem we're trying to solve here, and kind of making sure that whatever solutions we're developing actually solve a problem, and that technology is the right application to solve that problem, because if you're just adopting technology for technology's sake and the user can't see the benefits of it, then of course it's always doomed to failure. I think it's not going to be adopted unless it's actually making unless it's actually making life easier or doing the job well. So some great points there around accessibility and kind of value. Oh, Belle, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. As we wrap up, any kind of final thoughts do you think on AI and the future for legal workflow?
Look, I think, as we've seen with ChatGPT, it's been, I think, historically the fastest sort of uptake in terms of apps in history. And I think that AI could, in the legal industry, could seriously revolutionize things. But one of the key hurdles that we've got to tackle at the moment is that reliability of data, but also that ease of use. I mean, we've seen, with the iPhone revolutionizing the use of mobiles, the fact that it is accessible to any age group has made it sort of, we can't live without our phones these days. I think there is a point in the future where AI could do that for lawyers. We're not there yet, but I'm a keen advocate because I can see so much benefit in it just removing a lot of the more taxing tasks that do not require human brain power, and then leaving us to really do the value accretive things that really matter to our clients and our staff.
Well, that's certainly a lot of food for thought to be leaving us with today, Belle. So thank you very much for joining us. To our audience, I hope you found that discussion interesting, and we look forward to continuing this conversation as we progress and move forward on our respective AI journeys. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Katherine.